Hello and welcome to Mediumship Matters with me, Hannah McIntyre. Episode 13, Season 2, Unlucky for some, but not for me. I'm going to start today by saying today, I believe, on the 18th of March, we will hit 20,000 downloads. I think we've got 29 to go, so I'll be very surprised if it takes us into tomorrow, but that is amazing. I can't actually believe it. So I started this podcast in January 2021, and on New Year's Day 2022 we hit 12,000 downloads. So this is just absolutely humongous for me that it is growing so rapidly, so quickly, and that is all thanks to you, dear listener. I am so grateful. I'm so grateful for the reviews, the follows, the shares, the ratings of the podcast, the letting people know about it, the talking about it, the getting involved. Thank you. Thank you so much. I can't wait to see where this goes. And I also want to give a shout out to Spain, my Spanish listeners, because I've been charting in Spain. Who'd have thought that? So thank you. Thank you to all of you all around the world who are listening. I honestly didn't think anybody would be interested, and I can't believe you're all on this journey with me. It's amazing. So I wanted to talk today about, I've titled this podcast already, again, A Tale of Two Dems, because I've had a very interesting week with the spirit world. So I was due to demonstrate at Deal Spiritual Centre a month ago, and then I got bronchitis and was unable to perform. And I had to reschedule the date. And I rescheduled it. And because I wasn't very well, I didn't look too closely at my diary. And I ended up scheduling demonstrations 2 nights on the trot, one in Chilham on Tuesday, one at Deal Spiritual Centre on Wednesday. And that was going to be my first ever 2 nights on the trot experience. And I was very nervous about it. But I also know if you want to expand your battery and you want to improve your connection, you have to kind of push through it, allow the recovery time, but you have to push through it in order to expand your power. So I was going to go for it, you know how it is. And then we went to Chilham on Tuesday, and for some reason, the energy of Chilham on Tuesday didn't sit well with me. Now, I had my lovely Amanda with me who writes down all my evidence, because she knows that after I demonstrate, what normally happens is I've gone from a very heightened state of energy into a very low vibrational, very tired state of energy. And what normally happens is I spend most of the night lying in bed with imposter syndrome, thinking I haven't done well enough and that everybody was disappointed. And so she writes down all my evidence for me so that I can look at it when I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and say, oh, it's okay. It's okay. It wasn't that bad. It was okay. I did this and I did this and I did this. And so I've got the evidence in front of me from Chilham, and the evidence is good. But the atmosphere was not. It was very, very hard to get people to put their hands up. It was very serious and very, the hall was freezing as well, which didn't help. We had all the heaters on, and even I was cold, and I always run hot, so we know that it's cold, but it was almost like the audience was frozen solid. And people were just really resisting putting their hands up. And of course, when you get an audience with a bit of reluctance, that's something you have to accept as a medium. But it really actually has been such a gift to me, because it's made me realize that I've got to start promoting my mediumship differently. And this is what I want to explain to everybody, is mediums are individuals and they have their own individualistic style, and you as a medium will have your own I can't even say it, individualistic, it's their style. And that's important to understand, accept and feed, because what you don't want is to become a different version of a medium where you end up with an incompatible audience sitting there in front of you and you finding it really difficult to work. Now, I did manage to work, but it was tiring. It felt like wading through treacle is the best way I can explain it. And the clock was taking a long time to go round and it just felt uncomfortable. Um, and I've thought about this long and hard. And I actually have been talking to Amanda about this because she always helps me bounce back my ideas. But I think it's time for me to really step into me. And I think that's what this is all about. And it needs to be there in my advertising, the kind of nights I want. Because mediumship is sad. It is. Talking to your loved ones in the spirit world is very, very emotional. It is sad because you know they're still around and you get the evidence that they're still around, but it doesn't change the fact that you're not with them anymore. And of course, as with all demonstrations, not everybody gets a message. So there are also those people who leave who are feeling disheartened or dissatisfied in some way that they haven't received the message that they want, that they haven't been acknowledged by their loved ones. And of course, it doesn't mean that their loved ones don't love them, but the spirit world accept, and you have to accept as a demonstrating medium, that there's a limit to how much you can do and how many people you can get round. And so there's a lot sort of bubbling away here. But one of the things that I've realized is, for me, mediumship is joyous. And I need to make that clear to people. And yes, we are dealing with people who are no longer here in the physical realm. We call them dead, deceased, okay? We are dealing with that, and that is painful, and that is sad. But the fact that they're still alive is amazing. The fact that they can still communicate is incredible. The fact that they can still see us and know what we're doing and be part of our lives, even if we're not really that aware of it, is something worth celebrating. The fact that we're all going to be together again and you haven't lost them forever and you've just got to get through this life, and this life to your soul is just a moment, is amazing. It's so exciting. It's so celebratory. And my favorite thing about working with the spirit world has always been and will always be that they don't change. When I first started working with spirit, I thought everyone became sort of biblical in some way. They became serious. It would speak in proverbs. I don't know what the hell I was thinking, really. But when you get someone through, I had a gentleman come through on Tuesday night at Chillum, and the first thing he said to me was, I noticed he was bald, and he said to me, it's a solar panel for my sex drive. Hilarious. First thing he said to me. And he's in the spirit world. He's in heaven. He's through the pearly gates, so to speak, but he's still got his sense of humour. He's still funny. He's still him. And that, for me, is something worth celebrating. And so this shows to me that I actually need to prepare my audience for this. And I need to let them know that I'm not like perhaps other medium demonstrations that they will have seen, where it is very serious and it is the softly spoken way of delivering messages because somebody is dealing with grief. And mine's more of a rave. It's more of a party with your loved ones, and we're all going to get together and we're going to laugh and we're going to remember who they really were and we're going to enjoy it. And that's what I've got to change. So a really great lesson for me through all that treacle. And it was really funny because I got home and I was exhausted from all that wading and feeling really, oh. And then spirits step in and they say, we need you to talk about this. We need you to record this. So I did a little TikTok and I recorded it saying, I've had a really bad night. It's really, really hard. Had some lovely comments from people that were there. But I think it's important to talk about, because as mediums, of course, we only want to talk about our good stuff. We only want to be remembered for our best work. Don't come to me and grade me on my crap nights, please. Come to me and grade me on my good ones. And of course, that doesn't work like that. And I wish it did, but it doesn't. But we all have to start talking about the fact that sometimes it isn't quite the way you want it to be. And sometimes it is awkward. And sometimes people are reluctant to put their hands up for so many different reasons. And it's okay. It's okay that it didn't quite go the way that you wanted, as long as you don't let that become the thing that stops you. And so, of course, I knew that I was having to demonstrate the next night. And not only that, but it was my first demonstration ever in a church. And I've got a bit of resistance, as you know, to churches. So I was very nervous. I was so honoured to be asked, but so petrified that I wasn't going to be what they wanted. And I've had so many of my friends who are mediums tell me stories about getting told off in church for crossing their legs, and getting told off in church for doing this and told off in church for doing that, that I was really quite concerned. And then I'd obviously had the bad night on top of it. So I was worried I was going to be in this church with a group of people and let them down. And you know what, guys? And this is a new thing for me to be able to admit this, but God, it was brilliant. Yeah, there were some bits that I could have done better, but it was brilliant. Everyone was so receptive. I had some amazing, amazing spirits in that just brought such amazing evidence and love. And even when it was hard to place the spirits, it still had a sense of ease about it. And one of the people at the church, one of the volunteers, said to me, that's because you're dealing with people who are used to how spirit work. And I'm going to put a pin in that and we'll explore that in a minute, maybe, or I'll forget. Who knows? But it was just so, so wonderful to be in that energy. And one of the spirits that came in, I mean, I didn't have anyone writing down my evidence, which is, always hard for me. But from what I recall, it was a gentleman gone too soon, passed of a heart attack, middle-aged, quite a quiet man, stood to the side. There wasn't a close connection. He wasn't bringing huge amounts of emotion. Passes heart attack very suddenly, leaves family and children behind, and there was a connection to football. And I'd got Rob or Roy, raw kind of noise, and couldn't quite work it out. Anyway, no one put their hand up, and there was a part of me that went, here we go, it's going to be like Chillum, you've lost it, you can't do this. Who are you to think you can stand up in front of people and do this? That voice came in, marvellous, my best friend. And then somebody put their hand up and said, well, you might be with me, but I wouldn't expect this person to come through to me. And I said, okay, so what is it you don't understand? And they said, we understand it all, just that the name was Bob, not Rob. I'll take that. But why would they come through to me? I don't really know them. They're my dad's friend. And therein is some of the resistance to people, that it's not who I expect. It's not who I expect. And going back to what the volunteer said to me about experienced spiritualists, it's been very interesting. Now, as you know from the last podcast, I've been watching Tyler Henry, Life After Death, on Netflix, binge watching. I love him. He's amazing. But if you come at it from a very analytical, questioning, not the right space, some of his evidence is good evidence, but it's not mind-blowing evidence. Some of it is mind-blowing. And you can see, if you watch it properly, how mediumship actually works. I just watched one last night where he was talking to a mum, and he was talking about water, and water being connected to the person he was connected to in spirit. And her daughter had died in a mudslide. Her daughters had died in a mudslide. So there was a water connection, but that's still water. And he wasn't talking about it, I don't think, to do with death. He was just talking about it in connection to her. And they do live near a stream, blah, blah, blah. And I mean, I think he's brilliant, so don't get me wrong. But this is what I mean. When you are used to how spirit work and how mediums work, you'll accept that as a great piece of evidence, because it is. But when you're not used to mediums, then you would be sitting there saying, well, it's not water, it's mud. And it's to do with their death. Why haven't you said death? You've just said a connection with water. That kind of thing. And I think that's part of the problem. I think that people are sitting in the audience, even though I tell them not to, waiting for those specific things, those specific bits of evidence, so they will put their hand up. And it's really interesting to have to sit within that and watch that. And if you're not confident in your mediumship and you don't force it upon people, sometimes they won't put their hands up. And that's something I've learned. I mean, I keep making this joke, I'm going to lock the doors, no one's leaving till we take the spirit. And then someone will put their hand up and I'll say, do you understand? And they say, yeah, I understand everything. But they had to be forced to put their hand up. And I get that. I'm sympathetic to that. I know when I go and watch mediums work, I get very nervous when I think it might be for me. But equally, you've got to be willing to do that, or you're just making it so hard on your medium, so hard on them. And it's interesting. And one of the people, my heart sank because I've been really enjoying Tyler Henry and really loving it. But he did the reading for this girl and her mum, I think. I've watched too many of them back to back. And in it, at the end, after he was finished, she produced, when she was talking to the producers, she pulled out a note and she had written a list of things that she wanted to hear from her cousin. And Tyler, luckily, had touched upon all of them, which is brilliant. That's so amazing. But there's a little bit of, well, if she could do that, why can't I do that? If she can write down, I want to hear about this, this, and this, then why can't I tell my loved one I'm not putting my hand up until they mention the pearl necklace, or until they mention the inflatable bouncy castle, or until they mention the time with the pigeon? And this is the problem, because it's great that he did that. It's absolutely brilliant that he did that. And it is possible. It is. But it's not possible every time for every link from every spirit. And so any expectation like that can also result in you being disappointed. And it's finding that balance. And it's hard. It's really, really hard. And the funny thing is, the more at ease your medium is with the energy of the room, the more they'll be able to get those wow, aha moments that really blow people's socks off. And the more testing the energy is, the harder they're going to find it, which is one of the big ironies, isn't it? What an irony that we really want to bring that evidence to you, but if you want it too badly, you actually make it harder for us to get it. So one Dem that was difficult, the evidence was still good, and all the spirits were still taken, begrudgingly, but they were taken, to a night that was filled with laughter and love and great energy and great work from me and the spirit world, because we were able to be in that space. And as I always say on my Dems, and I've probably said on this podcast, but just in case I haven't, your loved ones in the spirit world, they know the evidence that you would like through. They know what you would like to hear. The problem is getting it through the medium. And what I am able to receive differs second by second, moment by moment, depending on what level of blending I've achieved from where I'm at emotionally and from the energy of the space and myself. So one of the things that I've now got to work out is how I let people know that I'm fun. Because if they don't listen to this podcast and they rock up and they get me, they must be thinking, what on earth is this monstrosity? I'm proud of it, because I want people who want to have a good time. I want people who want to laugh and cry and celebrate their loved ones and remember their loved ones and be in the presence of their loved ones in the spirit world, but want to have fun with them. Sometimes, of course, I will sit in the energy of somebody's passing if it's necessary for evidence, and that's the best way to get it through. But I don't want to sit in the hours of somebody's death when I've got the decades of their life to explore. It just seems counterintuitive to me. A bit like how I find graves, if I'm honest. I don't even want a grave. Don't make me a grave. I'm not there. I'm with you laughing at your stupid dance when you've had too much wine. I'm sitting beside you, comforting you when you've had a bad day. I'm laughing along beside you at your grandchildren. I'm watching you get that haircut that you regret. I'm seeing you putting on your clothes and trying to work out your outfit and being so hard on yourself in the mirror. I'm with you for your successes. I'm with you through your dramas, your problems. I'm cheering you on from the sidelines. And that for me is how spirit is. It's not about the dying, because the dying is just the transition to everything. It's just to everything, to all the love, to all the bliss, to all the wonder. And let's let's sit down together. For me, mediumship is a bit like if you were to get my nan through. I would want you to sit with my nan on her sofa and listen to her talk to you about her life. I would like you to get out her photo album and remember the experiences that we had together. And I would like you to tell me that she's with me and that she loves me and she's proud of me. And that is what I want from mediumship, not their national insurance number and the date of their death and the number of the house they lived at, because people are so much more than those things. So if you're a developing medium, I implore you to explore your mediumship, what type of medium you want to be. And I've probably said this before, but it's my show, so hey ho. Watch lots of other mediums. Watch what works for you and what doesn't. See what you like and what you don't. I mean, Tyler, he's amazing. It's a little bit easier for him. Every single person he's going to has already in a place of deep belief. They're not having their reading with Tyler expecting him to fail. They're expecting him to be brilliant. That's a very different energy to somebody that comes to a demonstration not really believing in it with their arms folded. Come on then, prove it. Well, that's not very good, is it? Give me something better. And that doesn't mean that either of them are better or worse. It's just the practice of mediumship and learning how to walk through that quagmire and navigate it and maintain your connection and your belief in your connection and your belief in yourself. So don't give up. If you're having a tough time, tough sitters, the spirit world will build your resilience, and it sucks, but it's also really, really valuable. Get back on the horse, get back on, giddy up, you can do this. And if you are somebody who's just interested in mediumship and isn't a medium, give your mediums a break. Be open to not what you expect, but what you are given. And you will have so much of a better experience than if you sit there waiting for that specific person or that specific message, or holding on for something that your medium might not be able to get. So there we are. It's been, as always, a huge learning week for me, absolutely massive. But that's what I want. I don't want to stop learning. I don't want to stop improving. I don't want to be happy with where I am. I mean, I do. I would love to be happy with where I am, and I do try to be happy with where I am. But I want more. I want to be better. I want to stretch my own limitations to see where I'm holding myself back and where I can do better. And that is the journey. And the journey of that, of course, means that you have to be pushed and pulled and prodded and poked into these new phases. We don't float through like Mary Poppins with her umbrella into the next level. We crawl. And sometimes you have to go through the knocks and rise through them to come out the other side. So this is not a sympathy post. Please don't send me messages, because I'm choosing this. This is not a poor me, but this is about a real desire to talk about the realities of mediumship and healing and all spirit work and being a human. And we don't get it right instantly. It's a journey, not a destination. We're always growing, always shifting, always changing. And I'm so grateful to those people in my life who believe in me and will tell me honestly if it wasn't the greatest, but that they remember what I'm capable of, because those people help me to remember what I'm capable of. And there are some of you, I do see you, that come to lots of my demonstrations and lots of my events. And I'm so grateful for you cheerleading for me. So be prepared for the events to change a bit. Let's get this party started. I'm looking forward to fun with the spirit world, and everything's going to shift into alignment for that, because that is what I want from my mediumship. Have a wonderful day, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this, and I will catch up with you again soon.